A big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. I'm here at the Puma India headquarters for a very interesting interview. Now, I don't know how many of you all know, but Puma India equals Nike, Reebok and Adidas put together. But that's not the breaking news, because this feat was achieved by the company sometime last year. I'm here today because Puma India has recorded a 46% growth and today stands at about 3,000 crore rupees, way ahead of all the global behemoths. So what is it that this company is doing right in the India market? What's their secret sauce? Well, one man is going to bear it all, and that's none other than the Managing Director of Puma India, Abhishek Ganguly. Lovely to meet you and many congratulations, Abhishek.
Thank you so much, Sonali. Welcome.
Super excited to be here at the headquarters of Puma.
Thanks for coming in. Let's go up.
Absolutely, looking forward. So, Abhishek, 2,980 crores, so let me just say 3,000 crores, phenomenal. Did you expect this when you started off the year?
Well, I would say we probably overachieved a bit, but we were always expecting a very strong year. We had a great year last year, and you know how it was being set up this year looked that we would grow over and above that. Whether I expected this to be at this number, I don't know, but I think overall there is a lot of expectation and positivity around our numbers and our business. So yeah, I would say overachieved a bit.
So before I flash back and talk about your phenomenal performance over the last few years, I would say, and also consistently since you were given birth to in India, what has been specifically dramatic about the year gone by, where you've posted such a phenomenal number?
Well, I'll say not just 2022, but if I look at last 2 years, the way after the pandemic, how we have come back in the business.
Sure.
Because the year of the pandemic was the only year in our history that we actually had a drop in revenues.
Sure.
And then to come back and then grow the business by 67% last year, and then another 46% growth this year. I would say that, it's been last 2-3 years post the pandemic, we have actually added as much business as we added in the first 13 years of our being in the market.
Yeah.
So to do this just after the pandemic, when, the world was in really bad shape, India was in bad shape, I think that's something that really stands out for me.
Sure. So let me flash back a bit. Born in India in 2006, where you were really an irrelevant brand and Puma was not really known to the Indian market. You had heavy-duty players like Nike, Reebok, Adidas, and a couple of others, but basically three of these big players quite entrenched in the market. And I've seen your numbers, and there has been a consistent growth for Puma, of course, barring the 2020 year you talked about, mild dip. But beyond that, we've seen a consistent growth. But I've looked at the numbers of your competition, and I've noticed that Reebok is, on shaky grounds. Nike is doing okay, but nothing to write home about. Adidas is doing well in comparison, but they've been here longer, stronger in the Indian market, but yet still way behind you. And you've also beaten Decathlon, which is the new emerging, sportswear brand. So something needs to make sense on what is the reason for the meteoric rise of Puma in India.
Well, I think first and foremost, I don't want to talk about other brands, because I think the way Indian market is growing in our category, there's an opportunity for everyone and more brands. Spoken
like a true managing director.
But looking at ourselves, I think when I look back, first and foremost, the category is phenomenal. I'm so lucky to be in this category. There is so much growth in sports and fitness in India. The culture of sports is changing in India. People are taking to sport much more seriously as a part of their lifestyle than they have done. Parents are supporting their kids to not just excel academically, but also in sports. And that's a fundamental shift that is happening in the last few years, in the last 2, 3, 4 years, more than ever before. And on the other side also, there is a growth in what we would call athletic leisure or sports lifestyle, because sportswear is becoming fashionable globally as well as in India. So there is a big growth in the category itself.
Just to stop you here for a minute, for the benefit of myself and my audience, this trend that we've seen of this growth of athletic wear being sporty, this is a relatively new trend, right?
Yes, I would say last 5 years, and every year this seems to be becoming more dominant as a trend. If you go today to offices, corporate offices, you will see, there was a concept before called Friday dressing in offices. Now every day people are wearing casual clothes in offices, in a lot of offices,
sure,
barring some
traditional sectors.
Some traditional sectors. If you go to malls, if you walk around on the streets, if you go to a club today, people are wearing what you are wearing, for example, and that's become like a fashion trend. So this is becoming more and more, the trend is really growing every passing year. Airport looks is becoming a lot about sports fashion. So yeah, this is a trend. The other trend also, the emergence of sports as a culture and people taking care of themselves more by adopting a more active lifestyle is also something that's growing year on year. And not just in India, in the metro cities, right? I mean, if you see even in the tier 2, tier 3 cities, this is really penetrating because people are getting more aware and conscious about their own. They all want to be having the best version of themselves. Both internally as well as externally.
Absolutely, and big transition from, let's say, your parents or mine. The generation before us was, I would have to say, rather lazy. But when you're talking about these emerging trends, what role did you have to play a role, to kind of educate and get this trend noticed in the country, because these are global trends which is rubbing off in the India market? Is it the exposure with the TikToks, Instagrams, blah blah, the kind of social media connect and digital penetration we've had, or is it that you've had to put in some work to educate them about global trends?
Well, a bit of both. Yeah. Honestly, I would say that today the young consumers are extremely aware. They follow the best trends that are happening anywhere else in the world. They create trends, actually, and social media enables them to do that. And on the other hand, as a brand, we're also a platform where consumers come and engage within themselves and with the brand. So I would say that we have been able to provide that platform for consumers to come and express themselves. Also, the way our channel is set up, our stores, our offline, online stores, our own .com or our shopping app, everything is a lot about creating that trend and putting it in front, creating looks, and dropping the right products and showcasing it for the consumers. So we have played a role in that, and I think we should not ignore the role that our brand partners play in this today. We have so many brand ambassadors, influencers across sports, art, culture, music, and they play a large part because they are key opinion leaders today. And whether it is Virat himself to speaking about sports, skipper of the Indian football team, Sunil Chhetri, to Mary Kom, or our entertainment influencers, Anushka Sharma, Kareena Kapoor, Hardy Sandhu, and a lot of young YouTubers and Instagrammers. So I think all play a part in this. So whether we are as the brand that we are, I think it's our responsibility to take the trend ahead and put it in front of the consumer and let the consumer engage with it. So this is what we do as a brand.
Sure, but Abhishek, and if you could elaborate and give me some insights. 2006 to 2023, phenomenal rise, but why, according to you, is a consumer buying more Puma than other brands?
Looking at it internally, there are definitely things, Sonali, that we've got right. I think first and foremost, India is a lot about operating your business right, and not following a fixed template, because it's a different culture, infrastructure is different, ease of doing business is improving, but there's still a lot of challenges on that. So, you need to operate a business right. So it starts by having the right people, and attracting and retaining talent is very, very important. But if I look into what are the business things that we have done, which has
catapulted you to this position.
Yeah, so we're focused a lot on the consumer. We have a very strong direct-to-consumer strategy in India with both offline and online. If you see out of our 490 stores, about 170 of them are operated directly by us. We were the first brand to launch a web store, and also last year we also launched our shopping app in India. Putting the consumer and the experience the consumer has on the channels that they come to shop from, and making that convenient and experiential is very, very important for us. On the other hand, I would say that, telling the right stories, whether it is a product story or being relevant and engaging with the Indian audience,
sure.
I think that has always been something that we have done. We've never copy-pasted something that we do globally and just put it in front in India from a marketing standpoint, created very India for India relevant campaign and content, which has really helped. Then looking at, also operations, very, very important. So investing in supply chain, right kind of distribution system, to right kind of technology has been very, very important for us and has been a core of our being. Also digital. I think India has really leapfrogged
sure.
ahead on digital, whether it is payments, commerce,
yeah.
Social media. And today we do that very, very seamlessly. It's a part of our DNA today. We are a digital first brand, whether it is having the right kind of social media partners, to having the right kind of influencers, to e-commerce. So all of this put together, one thing which ties all of this together is that we don't just look at a success story and fix it for later, for future. So being very futuristic and progressive and always reinventing ourselves has been the mantra for our success.
There are some things you've pointed out, saying that Puma consciously and strategically thought for India, right? So you looked at it as a market and catered to it as India. You didn't do a cut, copy, paste model, which I'm assuming the other behemoths, which whether it be a Nike, Reebok, Adidas, all came in with a set template with their success stories in the Western world and came and deployed it here. My question to you is, I know you're not going to respond to that, but my question to you is, why did Puma International, right, decide that or empower you to say, do it your way and do it the Indian way?
Well, I must say I'm extremely thankful to our global board of management for allowing us to do that and empowering me personally for doing this, where we're not just doing, one size fit all. How did it happen? I think over a period of time, I think it doesn't happen. Today if I hire a team, I would also take a bit of time to empower. Sure. I think it's the kind of relationship you build, and it also comes a bit with time. There is a weight of time here. And also especially if you show success along the way, and you're always transparent and honest, then people see it. A lot of communication. And also to get people to come and see the land, and see what opportunity lies. And I think that's what the Puma Global Board has always done, like come and seen the opportunity, invested, given a clear empowerment to build what we have built. And that has been the success. And never in the last 5 years I can think that I was ever forced to do a particular thing which doesn't fit us well. And also the last 2-3 years, every year I think there is far more understanding of India at a global level, because when you empower, and just like you and I would do, when you empower your team, you have to have a very strong understanding. It's not a blanket thing, right? You need to have a strong handle on what's happening.
Sure.
And I think that handle. And the other thing is being keen about India. And I think that's a big takeaway, that being very keen about India for not what is India today. It is about being keen about India in the long run, because it's a fact that India in the next, you look at it, we have now the 5th largest economy. We by 2027, we will become the 3rd largest economy. The growth, the young population, especially in our category, is extremely relevant. The digitization will really put India in the forefront of a lot of things. The adoption is very, very high. So when you look at it, I would say that also being interested in the future, not just for the present.
Yeah.
And that's what Puma has done. We are extremely committed to keep investing in this market. And it's not just a last 5 years of empowerment success. It's also what we stand to see in the next 5 to 10 years.
Right, and I'm taking a cue from that when you say that you're keen on India. So can I walk and talk and take a look at your office?
Sure, please.
So when you say keen, you mean that you're actually, the company, the organization is invested and believes in India's potential, while the rest have tried and tested the grounds and have kind of just become a bit more laid back, while there's been so much aggression from your side and hence advantage Puma.
Well, that would be a bit unfair on everyone, because I think everyone's very, very keen on India. The category is really interesting, and I think I know a lot of brands, and my peers in these brands are also very, very keen on India. So that won't be true. And I can tell you, a lot of brands are really, really keen now and wanting to make that investment and progress this, which is great.
Yeah.
Which is great for 2 reasons. It's good for India, and it is also very, very good for our category, which is sports. And as this culture of sports in India grows, and we will have actually come.
Thank you.
So I think it's also very, very good for for everything. It's the entire sports ecosystem, because sportswear is actually a rub-off of what's happening around in the culture side, right? And I think that will see for everyone to be bullish about India.
But Abhishek, you're being very diplomatic, because if that was the case and everybody's investing hard, then if I look at the numbers, and my audience is seeing the numbers as well, it doesn't make sense, because we've seen a consistent growth from you. We've seen a consistent growth from Skechers, which is a relatively new player, much smaller player. And we've seen Adidas come back. They had a bit of a rough patch. We've seen them come back. So, but of course not as big as you, where you stand today. So my question is, if everybody is focusing and the category itself is livened up and consumers are evolving and there's global exposure, then everybody should be growing at this mammoth pace, right? So give me that answer. Don't be shy.
No, I'm not being shy. I'll tell you, if I start saying that we are in a much better position than anybody else.
But why?
I'll tell you. I'll come to why we are successful. But I would always look at competition and say they're great brands and with great potential, because the last thing you want to do is to ever get into a mode of complacency, and this is not that we want to be. And we believe that all the brands have a great story to tell, and they have also the same market, like you said, that we have. So we would never look at competition like that. Having said that, I mean, like I'm saying, next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, I think Puma has immense potential in this market, and we are willing to make all the investments. So as I mentioned to you as well, that today I think the way we connect with our consumers is very direct and very, very focused on what the consumer experience and convenience. I think we have a very clear India for India relevant strategy from a brand building perspective. Number 3 is that we want to stay very, very extremely digital. That has really helped for us. And we want to focus India, to solve for India, you need to solve for operations of India.
Is that the biggest challenge?
It is quite a big challenge, because, it's not, it's a large country reaching products from one end to the other. And in our business, you pay rents in stores, as an example. You need to have the right product at the right time. Otherwise, you pay fixed costs and you don't have the revenue, right? So just solving for these things, and hence using technology is very, very important. So this is what I would say. Yeah, and I think the team focusing on having the right talent, the right kind of mix between experience and youth is very, very important. As you can see in the office, it's a good mix.
Definitely a fancy office. Very fancy office. It would be a pleasure to walk in every day. It's such a fancy office. But I'm just going to go back because I'm not going to let you go so easily. You talked about different strategies, but one thing you did mention is that 170, 180 stores owned by Puma, right? But different players in this category seem to have a different strategy for India. Like, for instance, Nike has these huge, large format stores in a few places where they find it, you know, it's hip and happening and crowded. You have obviously a very different strategy, own some and you know, franchise some. Why have you chosen this model?
All right, let me show you the rest of the office.
As long as you also answer the question.
So look, I mean, operating stores ourselves does two things for us. One is it gives us a direct access to the consumer,
sure,
so that we always create the right kind of products and experience for our consumer.
Right.
And it stays us rooted to fulfilling the needs of our consumer. What it also does in turn, because while we have 170 of our own stores, we've also got, you know, 300 more stores which are franchised, right? It also helps us in supporting the franchise business better, because we also don the retailer's hat. So we also understand what a retailer goes through. So I believe that being a retailer ourselves helps us managing our retail partners better, who are our franchisees for the stores. And why do we do both? I think one, I already explained why we own our own stores. It's very important for us to continue our franchise business, because we have got some of the best retail partners who have opened stores for us. Now, a lot of them are local entrepreneurs who understand some of the markets very well. They have got great relationships in the real estate in that market. So often they have better cost of acquiring a real estate property.
Sure.
You know, so it is very important. So a lot of we have not hinged our strategy based, oh, we will only open our own stores, or we will just, you know, franchise the market, right? Because the truth often lies in between. And that is what has happened, and that has really worked. This hybrid model works very well with us. Similarly, if you look at e-commerce today, there too we have a very hybrid model. We have some fantastic relationships with the marketplaces, all the marketplaces, and we also have built our own platform. So, and in fact, it is not one at the cost of the other. Is actually being an e-commerce player ourselves, where we operate a shopping app and our web store, helps us a lot on operating our business on the marketplaces.
That's something I want to talk to you about. You know, you have your own app, your own Puma store where you can, it's D2C basically. And I see a lot of companies now focused on D2C. I'm a bit confused, but can we sit?
Yeah, sure, please.
So, tell me, in such a crowded market where my real estate on my phone is limited, right? And I have only that many apps that I'm going to be using. Why do brands or companies feel that the consumer is so much in love with you that we will download every single app and we will go to every single website of that particular brand and buy? Don't you think that's, you know, being a bit too optimistic and living in a bubble?
Well, I think it's a great question. This is a question that I really love to answer, as well as also I'm also building my point of view on this. And over time, I'm seeing that brands which have very iconic value and have a clearly established positioning in the minds of the consumer, consumers like to come to the brand's platform and engage, shop and buy. and come back.
Really?
Yeah, they do. But what is important here is to operate an own platform. It's important that you retain the customer, because that's what is called building lifetime value. That consumer comes back to you because initially you have
as opposed to going to an aggregator app.
Yeah, so any platform to profitably survive, you need people to keep coming back, because initially you have a customer acquisition cost, which over a period of time, that's the basis of e-commerce business models. And that can only happen when you have a proposition in a single brand where a consumer would love to come in. If it is just about products, they would probably not. But if it is, there are certain limited edition product, if there are content, there is information, there is also certain events which are very specific to the platform, people come back. But the base of it is the proposition of that single brand should be strong enough to have certain kind of iconic value or a clear stickiness with the consumer for them to come back. Otherwise, I think it's best to do the business on marketplaces.
Let me ask you the brass tacks question, right? Like the Indian pricing question. So if I was to shop on the Puma app, right, vis-a-vis shopping on one of the marketplaces where you're available, would I be able to buy you cheaper on the Puma app?
No, that will not always happen for various reasons, because sometimes other sellers are selling on the marketplaces and they are deciding the price in that case. If we are selling on the marketplace, which we do, and we are also selling on the app, we will often try to have price consistency. Most of the times we will have price consistency. But there will be a lot of products which might exclusively, which would be exclusively on our web store and our app. So that's
the one big incentivization.
That's a big incentive, and it's for a lot of consumers, that's a huge incentive.
Really?
It's a huge incentive, because you always feel that you find the limited editions there. You also feel that products are dropped quicker and faster, because we control the entire supply chain, in and out in this case. So that would be, and also we have got so many brand ambassadors. Some of our consumers will be fans of these brand ambassadors, and they do get exclusive propositions with these ambassadors, like opportunity to meet and greet them, spend time with them, have a session with them on, let's say, once we did on having a sporting clinic with one of the athletes. So there are a lot of these benefits, which is not just pricing, but a lot of this comes from that.
Give me a sense of, right now where you stand at 3,000 crores, what is the breakup of the demographics, your TG?
Okay. So look, our core target audience is young consumers. So I would say we will always try to resonate with the 22, 24, 26-year-old as the core audience. Truth being said, in India, lot of people are actually today, this generation has come out and started, working for the first time in their entire, in their family history, and hence have a disposable income which did not exist in the previous generation, right? So, and hence, when they start earning is when the first time they can buy some of the lifestyle products, right?
Sure.
So our core audience is young, but a lot of times, we have
define young.
So I would say from 18 to 26. But a lot of people who shop Puma are actually 26 to 35, because that's when they have the disposable income.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And also for this age category, with active lifestyle, they want to stay young and feel young, and it really works.
Okay. And in terms of pricing, how are you positioning Puma? Are you like an aspirational brand? Are you a relatable brand? What does Puma stand for, your core TG?
Well, both. Puma is an aspirational brand for which people pay premium for. And we also have to be a very relatable brand, because, this relatable is for us a very, very core thing for our brand, because that's the only way.
But how can you be aspirational and be relatable?
Relatable as a brand. So we talk the language, the stories, the platforms that we create are something which is very, very relatable for the Indian audience. You've seen some of our marketing campaigns. It is something that a guy next door or a girl next door can relate to and say, hey, yes, this is, and emote with that and express with that. So that's how we are relatable. Our pricing strategy is very simple. It's a bit of qualitative judgment that we apply, other than all the commerce that we do around it, is that the value to price ratio is always higher than 1. So when I say value, that if you come to a Puma store and buy a product for, let's say, 10,000 rupees, you walk out of the store and feel that you got a deal. You got a deal in the sense that you walked feeling that this costed me lesser than I actually got value for.
And if you look at your portfolio, right, you have 2 splits. So if you can just enlighten me on how you're splitting, your verticals, and how much is each vertical contributing?
All right. So if I have to be a bit broad-based, I would say that we have both sides of the business: sports athleisure, or sports fashion, or sports lifestyle, whatever you call it, which includes the sneakers and the track pants and the track jackets, which people buy not to wear it for a sport, but actually out of the court.
As a fashion statement.
As a fashion statement, as a part of their lifestyle. And then there is also products that you use to run, train, play cricket, football, indoor sports, basketball. And we have a very healthy mix of both. Thankfully, both from a consumer standpoint is growing very fast in India. So we would be very well balanced at 50-50 between athletic goods as well as sportswear, which is athleisure or sports lifestyle.
How would you look at your portfolio? How much of it is a premium offering? How much of it is a mid-level? And do you have anything massy at all?
Well, I'd say we were price, premium, and mid. And depending on the channel, if you go to our stores, especially in the tier 1 market, 80-85% of the sales today is towards premium products. Whereas if you are on a marketplace, especially when there are sale events, this is just the reverse, right? So it is very channel specific. So it's very difficult to give you an average for this, but it is dependent on the channel. I'll say stores definitely have higher average transaction value and far more premium, because this is the guy, they would come in and buy the latest drop in products, and price sensitivity in such consumers is much lower.
Okay, and what about, so where is the mid-level taking off? Is it tier 2? Is it on e-com?
Yeah, I think, I wouldn't say tier 1, tier 2. You'll be very surprised that even tier 2 today has a buying power or potential to spend. You would be very surprised. Some of our, I'm just going back a bit on time. In 2019, we launched a cricket boot with Virat Kohli, which was 20,000 rupees. And when we had very limited, it was a limited edition launch. And what we realized that 70% of the sales actually went in tier 2 cities. So,
wow.
Because they wanted to have a collectible with Virat. And own it. And today, even when you travel to India, you will see that there is phenomenal growth in these markets. Also, even the kind of shopping centers, the infrastructure is improving, aspiration, because social media has democratized everything, and it's become very inclusive for people to know. Information is today far more accessible, and hence aspiration comes from that information that they have. So there is definitely a lot of growth in tier 2 markets. In fact, I'm personally very, very excited to see the potential tier 2 and even tier 3 markets today, because the growth potential is far higher than in tier 1 market. Yeah, I wouldn't say tier 2 and tier 3 is more trading down in terms of price points. But yes, channel-wise, it definitely is, if I have to pick offline stores
versus
online stores. Offline stores sell more high-priced product than online stores do. Our own shopping platform sells more higher price points than some of the marketplaces. So it is a lot to do with offline, online, rather than tier 1, tier 2.
A lot of CEOs have told me in the last year or two about the potential and the buying power of tier 2 and tier 3. That is shocking. It's coming to the fore, and hence the focus is suddenly becoming Bharat, right? My question to you is, doesn't it then make sense for you, to be investing a lot more in tier 2 and tier 1, also because it's cheaper, right, in terms of just real estate and logistics, and the fact that they are very aspirational and are just getting out of their shells and are hip and yuppie, and so are you expecting a kind of switch in your revenue or sales numbers in the immediate future?
Well, the share of tier 2, tier 3 will definitely be higher going forward.
What is your estimate?
Look, it depends on what you are classifying as tier 1 and tier 2. So let's keep that aside for a moment. But I'll give you in perspective that will definitely grow, irrespective if you're only putting Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Calcutta, Chennai into one, and the rest of India, then also the rest of India will definitely increase their share. You put the top 10 cities, the rest of India will grow faster. Any cut you take.
Grow, yes. Will it beat?
It really depends on where you are cutting the line. So what I'm trying to say is that, that's where I think sportswear category is a very lucky place to be as a business, because even in tier 1, tier 2, even in tier 1, there is immense growth potential, and I'll tell you why. Like, look around. We all live in tier 1 cities, and if you see every passing day, there is a new community. Every society, every housing complex that you live in, there are more and more people playing badminton. There is a badminton group, there is a cycling group, there is a tennis group, there is a running group which is coming up. So, and this is not stopping. If you look at the registrations, we are a part of some of the running races, like the Delhi Half Marathon, and we just also started partnering up with Devil Circuit, which is obstacle race format in 10 cities. And look at the registrations there. The registrations is so difficult for an established race to find a spot to run, right?
Sure.
And which means that tier 1 has also got a lot of potential. We are not in a category where we are seeing anywhere close to be saturated.
What you've achieved in 13 years vis-a-vis what you've achieved in the last 2 years, obviously the pressure is mounting. Once it is stellar performance, expectations are then soaring high. How are you looking at 2023? I ask you this question simply because of the macroeconomic conditions. And your global CEO has also pointed out that, while Puma's had a stellar global performance as well, he did point out that 2023 has to be a year that you tread with caution, and he expects a softening. Are you expecting a softening in this market?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Because India is really shining, and especially in our category, like I mentioned, there is no slowdown that we are perceiving. We will continue to grow. We've got some great retail partners. We've got a great ecosystem. We've got a great team to continue to invest in this market this year as well. We're already seeing in the first 3 months that there is enough growth. I don't see, because of the consumer shift towards sportswear, I don't see any softening this year.
But do you think there is merit in the fact that the global management of Puma and the India like, how long have you been managing director?
I've been managing director for the last in India since 2014 September. So it's been almost 9 years for me.
Now that's an aberration, right? Because the average CEO tenure is about 4 years now, and the average CMO tenure is about 2 years. So basically, the shrinking of tenure and this constant change of hands, new vision, new ideas. Let's scrap the old idea because, I want to prove myself, my legacy, right? All of that. It's true. Hence, this whole this consistency and stability is what one is observing kind of decrease. Would you say there is merit in giving credit to the global management for its steadiness and also the India management for its steadiness, so that then the path is clear, there is vision and there is long-term vision, because somewhere because of this change, there is only short-term vision, quarter se quarter tak.
Absolutely. I say this for every category, every business across the world. People make businesses. And people make not just the business for today, but the business that you will have tomorrow. And hence people and consistency is very, very important. And that, if you look at it, that's one, we've spoken a lot of what we have done. At the end of it, how we have done this is because we have been able to retain a talent.
Yeah.
And I think that is the crux of everything, right? I mean, great leadership is only about people, and it's about culture,
yeah.
right? So do we have the culture to attract talent and retain talent? So I would give a lot of credit to this consistency that we have shown from the global board, and also for all of us here who have continued to see the path. And also what helped was success, I must admit. Success really helped.
Success fuels success.
So that has happened. And at the end of it, that is what is keeping us going. So Sonali, let's go up. Let me show you the rest of the office.
Yeah, I would love that.
All right.
So this is called the Puma House.
The Puma House.
Why is that?
This is supposed to be how we would like to get into households. It should.
Seriously?
This is supposed to be how, ideally, this is how a small studio apartment is supposed to look like, and how the brand can be a part of an apartment.
Is that breaking news you've just given me? Puma entering your household. So let me ask you, a consumption question. Like every time you talk to an FMCG leader, one of their key priorities is increasing consumption. And in FMCG, you probably can. But how do you increase consumption in your category, especially when one comes from a mindset, you buy one pair of expensive shoes, you wear it till it dies.
Right.
So, with that kind of mindset, how do you increase consumption?
Well, by changing that mindset.
Right.
If you look at the per capita consumption of footwear in India, it is very low. It is less than 2 per person per year, and which is very low, which also includes open footwear like flip-flops.
Oh.
So considering that in a more developed market like the US, this number is about 8. So there is a lot, and China lies somewhere in between. So there is a lot of opportunity to increase the per capita consumption of footwear, because it's not just one footwear for everything. People are now, it's a part of your lifestyle, it's a part of your styling. And people have, today people who are running, they have a footwear, they at least have, if not 2, at least 1 for running. They have various sneakers for different occasions. They have flip-flops. If they're playing basketball, they have a different footwear. So one is to ensure that, for different functionalities and usage types, you have multiple
use
sneakers,
cases,
multiple footwear, different use cases.
Market is a complicated one. What is your approach to marketing, given that you're also targeting a very young demographic, plus you're catering to different tiers as well?
Well, yes. So I think the first approach to marketing is not to just talk about the product. While we sell the product, and the product is for us the key asset here, because at the end of it, you need to sell a product which has great styling or functionality. If not both, you need great quality. That's given. But today's consumer, especially the young consumer, buys a brand on what it stands for them, what it means for them.
Really?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. At least the choice of the brand, not maybe on the product, right? You won't buy every time a shoe which has a heritage value or a story. Look, that also happens. But at least the choice of the brand today, and when you're
saying they've become brand conscious.
When you are talking to the top of the funnel, when you want more people to consider your brand, and discover your brand and create interest around your brand in the top of the marketing funnel, that time people want a brand that they can relate to and always create platforms for them to express themselves. So I think for us, marketing, if you see the kind of marketing we do, it is not about, you will never see Puma just doing brand advertisements with just our logo. Or we will we will not be there because we want to be on a t-shirt which is visible on on television.
Thank you.
So for once have not been diplomatic. But we would not do that because, we believe that our brand is something that we would do campaigns that our consumers can come and express themselves. And if you look at our campaign around women that we did with Proper Lady, a couple of years back, actually 3 years back, or the campaign that we are going to break in the next 15 days, it is about creating a platform. It is about getting together with the community. It's all about emotion. It is about culture. So I think our marketing is a long-term story that people can relate to, and with people in it who are relatable. So that somebody who's just next door can relate to that and not find it to be extremely overpowering or something which is too far away from them.
Getting it. Would you say that after handling India as a market, you're poised to handle any other market in the world just because the India market is so unique, so challenging, that it's like, when they say you drive in India, you drive in Bombay, or you drive somewhere else, you can drive anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I think India is fairly complicated, and it had been more complicated till few things have now been getting better, payments, infrastructure, etc. But I will say yes. I mean, I would say that experience in India is extremely handy for two reasons. One is India is complicated, so if you have solved for an India business situation, chances are that you would, you just apply some of the principles and just trying to solve for other business challenges becomes probably a tad bit easier. Secondly, there was a time when, other developed market would rule the world's view about the future. Soon, India will rule the world's view about the future.
I guess it's time for the East to rise again, but
the East is rising.
The East is taking back its rightful position. But having said that, thank you so much for your time. This has been wonderful. It's been a very, very elaborate shoot, and thank you for taking time and showing me, the Puma headquarters, and also taking the time to explain your journey. All the very best. May you be as fast as the Puma.
Thank you so much, and hope to see you again sometime.
Absolutely. My pleasure.